Hey everybody, this is Pat Foster. TransWorld's coming to you today from Budds Creek, Maryland for the highly anticipated Yamaha YZ450F intro. I know you guys have heard a lot about this bike in the last few weeks, and Steve Butler just gave you a nice rundown of all the changes, so I won't spend a lot of time on that. I know people are dying to find out how it works on the track, so let's get into it. I was a little concerned with all the changes that they've done, how this thing was going to work. Obviously it's going to handle differently with all the mass centralized in the center, the weight lowered. I was pretty excited myself to get on it and find out, you know, how's this thing going to react. The first thing I noticed is you can definitely feel the weight difference, and mostly in two areas. When you're coming into a corner, you've got braking bumps. Bear with me because this is kind of difficult to explain, but it just really feels like the majority of the weight is down in between your shins, down between your ankles. The weight is carried really low, so the bike stays really balanced front to back. Even as the braking bumps get bigger, it doesn't kick the rear end up, the front end doesn't pitch. It stays really level. Even when I was expecting some big kicks, it just seemed like the weight was so centralized that it wouldn't let the bike get too out of hand. The other place I noticed it was in the corners, and this took a little bit of getting used to. Not necessarily in a bad way, but most bikes compared to this feel a little top heavy. They want to fall down into the corner, and this bike doesn't do that. You've got to actually lay the bike down into the turn, and you can do it as hard as you want. I never had any trouble with the front end pushing or knifing. Yamaha focused a lot of attention on the ergonomics. One of the things that's changed pretty dramatically this year is how flat the seat is. Especially initiating the corners, like I was saying, it's really nice to have this flat seat. You can get way up on the front and then slide back to the rear to get traction as you're coming out of the corners. The shrouds flow really nicely. I love the foot pegs. They come with big, like platform foot pegs. I don't think you can beat them. I've hit a couple pretty big jumps today where I landed really hard, and definitely think that helped save the ankles a little bit. I love the bars. You've got a few different positions you can move them around. We didn't play with it a whole lot because frankly the bike was really comfortable right when I got on it today. As usual, the brakes work well. The clutch is really solid, smooth action, nice delivery. I don't have any complaints at all about the ergonomics or the feel of the bike whatsoever. Now that I'm used to it and have spent a little time on this new design. All of the press information that we got about the new motor says that with the airbox being up front and the direct intake going right into the cylinder, that we could expect a lot of low end and good mid-range. And I think that, coupled with the new EFI, is exactly right. The bottom end comes on instantly. I mean, the throttle response is instant with the EFI, but this thing just barks out of the corners. You get into a rut and get on it, and the power is instant. Really noteworthy. I haven't ridden too many bikes with this much low end response. The mid range is really strong. The bike just keeps pulling through the mid range, really seamless, really smooth, really easy to control. The top end is good, but I definitely don't think it's its strong point. There's a couple straightaways on this track where I wish it kept pulling a little bit more and it started to flatten out a little bit. Most of the tracks that we ride, I don't think that would be a big deal, but we're on a true national track with some long hills, and I just think that a little bit more top end would be helpful. But for the most part, this motor is fantastic. Really exciting. We're excited to get this thing back to California on some tracks that we know and we're familiar with, and get this thing up against some other bikes. This is going to be a really interesting shootout.